Okay, I believe we're live. So yeah, spent a bit of time doing bloody YouTube videos and stuff like that. It's bloody annoying, but there we are. Posting the update to Steam, so that's just been updated today. So if you go and download the latest version, you'll see all the updates I've done with the new chicken thing and the foot and some new artifacts, so that's great. And yeah, let me sort out the screens. So we have display capture, so running a little bit late, but that's fine. And yeah, we don't want Steam open, we do want Unity open. There we are. And we don't want Steam GUI thingy. Here we are, Warbeans. So today's quite exciting. The next thing we're doing is adding new faction. Well, it's kind of a new... making one of the factions playable is more accurate. So let's get rid of these. There we are. Do we have some... Yeah, we have that. And yeah, while this loads... So, I have already started doing this, and we have gotten to the point where, yes, we indeed have a hero from another faction loading in, and when they level up, they pick upgrades that are to do with their faction, which is great. It's awesome that works. So that was the easy part. The hard part is going to be making the humans as an enemy faction, right? That's going to be tricky. So, yeah, just waiting for this to load up. Okay, and let me just show that this works. Wait, misclick. And it was literally just doing a little nip tuck here and there. I've already made most of the, or made but not balanced the orc faction. Okay, so yeah, I turned this off for the demo, so I need to simply go in here. Title screen. And Orco is unlocked. Orco is a working title, but actually Orco was the name of one of the orcs from... or the orc that you could play as or make gear for in Blacksmith, my first game. Right. Let's see. Close. Minimize that tab. And I'm still massive. There we are. So here we are in Warbeans. And yeah, what I just did was unlocked equals true. There we are. Let's fix the screen so it's the right size. I do apologize for... Usually I sort this out ahead of time. But yeah, it was just a little bit late today. There we are. Okay. So we shall start a match. We shall pick Orco. And it doesn't really matter where we choose. I am now, and it's going to be confusing because I am orcs playing against orcs, but there's a goblin and an enemy goblin, and so it's hard to tell which is which. But when we level up, and I'll just... Oh, I turned that cheat off. Never mind. See if I can just organically level up. But yeah, it's quite fun playing as this guy. Need to make him a bit bigger, obviously. Quite slow with the axe. Okay, and here we have, and they've all got the same stat. But yeah, we can choose our characters, and we've already got. We can choose our upgrades. We've already got a lot of this sort of working in game. And yeah, we're gonna pick. Yeah. Most of the work is already done here. I just had a bit of funkiness to do with like understanding it. That's the main issue. It's one of those ones where, yeah, it's not a lot of lines of code, but I have to figure out how it's going to work. Yeah, we can get our glaive. Glaive does a little bit of damage to yourself in exchange for being a bit more powerful than your average weapon. Okay, so that's working. Oh, there was another thing I really needed to look at. So active, yeah, spawn pack. We want to look at our spawn pack script because we want to say okay. Ah, that'll be it. If pack is equal to pack, okay. So if pack is, so this means if like that's pack 1 basically. So if this pack is pack 1 available, like we'll always want to spawn them. And yeah, I'm going to put a debug.log because this kind of went a bit weird recently, so that's going to need fixing. I might need to upload a hotfix sooner rather than later to fix things like this. This is an ongoing process of making this work nicely. And the other thing I wanted to do was make it so that if I press L, I can level up. And I will show you something here. I'm going to load up my Miro board where I've got all my combinations and things like that. So here we have this. And so here's our orc chart, our green bean chart. So a lot of it is the same. And in fact, a lot of it's out of date. The talents generally are the same, but the weapons are almost different. Except for like a couple, like the bow, I think, is there. And the combinations are different. And yeah, I think I've done that. There's just a note to self chain heal. Yeah, so we need to think about what works for the orcs. But this is already here. So yeah, just so you can see that. And I just want to make sure that these work. I think there is going to be a bit of mess in terms of things not quite combining properly. That's not the issue I'm going to try and figure out today. But we can just do a little bit of like leveling up as the orc. And see what pops up. So I'll just use my cheat to level up, and I just want to see. Yeah, let's like try and get some combinations. Just spamming through these so I can... Okay, so yeah, if we combine the axe and the orc, we get the orc chief, which is great. Obviously, that's going to be way too overpowered at the moment. And I just want to get some of these. Oh god, that's going to get noisy after a while, isn't it? We'll have to work on that. There we go, grenades. If you combine tomahawk with boomerangs, you get grenades. Let's see that in action. They're like way too overpowered. Did I have one for... Yeah, and I'll need to make it so that when The orcs are using the drummer, so when I'm summoning the drummer, there's a grenade. I want to see it explode. Never mind. Well, very powerful army. Let's just keep going with this. Oh, that drumming's gonna get annoying. There we go, dagger provision. So boot and dagger. Is that right? No, we don't have dagger. What's it confusing that with? Dagger provisions. So we will look at... Well, yeah, this is the kind of weird thing that's going to happen. So, like I said, talents are going to be mostly the same, with just a few exceptions. But it's the weapons and the allies that are obviously going to be very different. So yeah, we have where we set up dagger provisions there. And this is actually boots and wog, but it's showing boots and dagger. But yeah, to get dagger provisions, you get the wog and you get the boots. So I don't know why it's showing the dagger here, but that's a bug, so I can write that down. So yeah, clear the log, because we've updated that and posted that to Steam. And starting on next faction, still unpausing on chests sometimes, make sure disabled. Yeah, okay, so I've got a couple things to check still. I'll put those up at the top. Just handling my to-do list. And we also want to make sure correct. Make sure red boxes are correct for combo, for orc combo upgrades. There we go. So yeah, let's up. Yeah, storm cloud. Okay, so with chain lightning and attack speed, this is like the equivalent to, yeah, we can get storm cloud, which would be a sort of like a rain effect. Except I think I want to change that, and that's actually already on my list to change, because I find the rain effects just aren't very good. So we would have like a big cloud that's like periodically doing lightning strikes. But I think it would be more fun to have just like some kind of mega lightning strike. That would be more fun. So let's keep upgrading these. Boomerangs. Totem. So if we take the drummer and the boots, we get totem. Let me double check that that is in fact... I already closed the thing. Just want to double check that that's the intended combo. The totem is a combo... Yeah, so... And when we're looking at... they are showing the combo for humans. Okay. So yeah, orcs, drummers, plus... So totem is the drummer, plus the boots. And you get a totem. That's cool. Storm cloud's fun. Some of these I'm a huge fan of. Goblin, boomerangs. Yeah, so the goblin plus boomerang is a bomber. I think that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Let's just keep getting these. So yeah, I'm just spamming this just so I can kind of see that it's all happening as intended. goblin launcher. This one's my favorite. So if you get a bow and a goblin, you actually throw goblins at enemies, which is a nice like little bit of damage, but also spawns a goblin, which is quite cool. A tuned goblin launcher with stronger buffs. Yeah, I think that's the auto-generated description. Okay, so we get the storm cloud. Rain of chicken, so that's still the same, but that's the crossbow. So in this case, rain of chicken is, it should be armor plus rations. So let me have a look at the script. Rain of chicken. In fact, I think where I was before was basically where it was. So this is just the script. Come on. Down here, rain of chicken. So this is where we, for green beans, for the upgrades that already exist, but we're just changing the prereqs. We change it here. So rations plus orc. Okay, so that's not correct. Rain of chicken is rations plus orc. Is that right? No. Orc is... So yeah, some of these are going to be wrong, and I need to go through and make sure they're all fine. But generally this is working. Oh, there's our storm cloud. So you see that? That's probably very poorly tuned. So that's kind of like our meteor. But this is fun. We can play as orcs now. So the main thing, before we focus on fixing all of those, and because that's all polished really. I mean, fundamentally this works. I can play as the orc faction. I just need to tidy a few things up and fix a couple things there. So the next thing I have to do is make it so that we can choose who we play against, right? So that the humans would be a valid enemy faction. So, how is this going to work? So we set up the faction here. And then here is where we're like specifically talking about adding goblins and whatnot. And then... So I need to think about this. I need to be careful. So here's where we set up our first wave. Unfortunately, we can't just do it. And so this links to... It's going to be GM. And it's going to be enemy spawner. These are going to be the main scripts we have to edit. So let's have a look at that. And I'm going to be a bit more quiet than usual today. Because I need to think. There's a couple things I need to think of is if, like, I want to be able to have multiple factions and that there'd basically be a faction tied to each team. And eventually I would love it if we could have multiple factions fighting at once. But let's just start with getting one enemy faction. So... Okay. So what we're doing is we're saying for each upgrade and upgrades, if the enemy spawn, if the first wave of the enemy spawner contains that, then sort of generate that, and that's the loading screen. This is very funky. But what we want is for this to work. So if upgrade.faction is equal, and let's go with faction.name, just because that's more reliable, is equal to .names. Okay, so what we're doing is we're loading in a faction here, an enemy faction to be played as. So that's not going to be enemy faction. That's not going to be green beans. That's going to be the enemy faction. So enemy faction, and like, so I could really easily just say, okay, enemy faction is the chosen enemy faction, but we might have more than one. So let's say faction 0. And we can say faction 0 equals factions.get faction green beans. But it might be humans. So we could say if, and this is not correct, but we could say, okay, if faction, if player dot faction is equal to player dot faction dot names 0 is equal to human beans, then faction 0 is green beans, right? Again, this is not how you're supposed to do it, but if then, and then we're asking for faction 0, right? Simple enough. We've determined the enemy faction. And then so this would go in here. So we said the enemy faction is this one, and our first wave of enemies is going to be this. So in our case, we're going to be like, we're going to get the equivalent, right? So soldier, ranger, mage. I'll just go from my list over here. So we've got, what are our factions? Just want to get all our human characters that might appear as part of the first wave. Well, let's be basically all the human characters. Whoa. Bannerman, yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to put this over here so I can reference it. So we've got soldier, and let's just do it in order rather than doing it in alphabetical order, rather than doing it like the sort of equivalent. So let's do Bannerman, Berserker, Looter, except the Looter is the equivalent of the Loot Goblin, but that's fine. We're not spawning them. We're just setting up the pool of objects. We're just telling it which characters to load, so that when it does need them, we don't have to have a loading screen in the middle of the game or lose a few frames. Mage, priest, ranger, rogue. And at least to begin with, the reason for Rogue 2 is because we have Warg 2 as well. Because each pack of Wargs had a leader that was a tier above them. So we'll probably do the same for the Rogues as well. Maybe we'll have something completely different. Let's see. But for now, it's just going to be like a copy. Rogue. Shield Bearer. One word. Shield Bearer. And while the orcs have fewer, orcs have more weapons than units. Soldier, witch. Okay, that's all our tier 1 enemies. All our tier 1 humans. So we are going to load the enemies. Cool. All right. And then so the enemy spawner. So when we start, we're going to say don't. So when we start, we're also going to sort all of these out. Okay, so this will happen after. And what we might end up doing is just moving this over to GM so it's all together. But for now, it's fine. Okay, so we want... No, this is wrong. Faction 0 would be the humans. So we're talking about faction 1. We're determining the enemy faction. Faction 1. So faction 1 is your opposing faction. Faction 0 will always be the player faction. So if faction GM dot faction 0 dot names is equal to green beans, then do this. It's going to be more like we'll have a list of factions and that will kind of correspond to the teams, but oof, just need to... I'll slowly unpick this ball of spaghetti. Okay, so we want something like this, but for humans. And it's not faction 0, it's faction 1. And if faction 1 is human beings, and we will go and copy just to make life a little bit easier, we will copy. So wave 2 will look something like this. So wave 2 dot add Bannerman. Okay, tedious work here, but has to be done. Tedious, boring work. So we have Bannerman, Berserker, and yeah, I'm not going to call each of these out. I'm just going to do it. And so yeah, if anyone's watching this, thanks for tuning in to possibly some of the most boring coding in the world. You don't come here to learn how to be mage, priest, ranger, rogue. Feels like there's too many. It's Bannerman, Berserker, Looter, Mage, Priest, Ranger, Rogue, Shield Bearer. It's because we've already got the Rogue, so we don't need that again. Shield Bearer. Soldier. Witch, and then here is where we put Rogue 3. And then we've got the tier 2 units. Oh, you don't need to compile, I'm just clicking so I can scroll down. So we have Assassin. Bard. Blacksmith. Engineer. Fire Witch. Frost Mage. Knight. Lord. Paladin Tower. And then this will be much the same. We can get rid of this. So we will take, and it's the same, isn't it? It's just, yeah, I just need to say 3. I'll do that again. Is there something I'm missing here? Is there anything different? Yeah, it's just we don't need to add Rogue 4 again. We do need to, yeah, we need to do this. So this would be 3, 3. Okay, let's find and replace this. Annoying. Okay, let's do it from here, and we're replacing that with 3. Let's just see how that works. Next. Oh, for God's sake. Next. Oh, damn it. Okay, I'll just do it like this. I'll turn caps lock on. Tedious work. But I think in the time I would take to automate something like this, I can just do it. Okay, here we can actually and this would be Rogue. And this would be turn this into IV. Why can't you find the next one? Oh, because it's still doing bloody selection. But why? Yeah. Where's my brain not working? Find and replace. Okay, yeah, there we go. And we can just ignore that. Okay, I mean, close enough. That's some of the work done. Okay. So we've added these characters to the waves. And basically they're all stored in upgrades. So I don't need to like click and drag them anymore. But basically this is the sequence for green beans. And maybe I could do something like, so here's the complication. We're now also adding to the list based on these strings. I could just say, well, don't get me a goblin. Get me the standard melee unit of this faction. Does that make sense? And then I could just copy and paste it and it would work. I think the reason I didn't do it like that is because it isn't exactly going to be like for like, is it? It's some things don't have an equivalent in each faction, so they will inevitably have to be handmade, like done in a different way, bespoke. And I called it Green Beans 1 just in case there would be another version, but this would actually be, so that's Green Beans 1. This would be Humans 1, Human Beans 1. Human Beans 1. And of course, change this. And so this is going to be largely the same, but not exactly the same. And I'm going to want to change it. And it's going to be really awkward, like if there's sort of fundamental balancing changes. But that's why I spent so much time making sure that the balancing was at least mostly correct for the green beans. So we just go through and we find Goblin. And we'll say, well, first thing should be a soldier, right? Soldier, soldier, ranger, rogue, and there's going to be some missing. So orc would be, what's the equivalent of an orc, right? And this is a rare enemy. So we'd be like shield bearer. And not just shield bearer, but like, I'll just open up, just got this. Oh, you don't need to compile Unity. I didn't press play. Never mind. So shield bearer, berserker. So these would be units that don't come up too often, but are there. These ought to be the equivalents of the orcs. But then I need to think, do I want that exact same setup where basically the orcs and goblins, you've got little dudes who are pretty weak, and then you've got big dudes who are pretty strong. Humans aren't really like that. It's a bit more like we would just sort of add more to the common list. But yeah, so we've got there's more units among the humans as well. So which ones would we hold back? Which ones, like the berserker is just another melee dude. So we could have shield bearer, ranger, rogue. So I'm just using this list over here as reference. Berserker, mage, rogue. So the rogues are the equivalent of the wolves. They'll go around in packs. It's like a pack of thieves. The looter will be the equivalent of a loot goblin. Any guesses where I got the inspiration for the looter? Let me show you the looter. That's the looter. And he has a spear and he evolves to look like this. Any guesses who that's meant to be? What that's referencing? Think of a character who's bald, has a spear, and is very thievish and conniving and a bit of a bad guy. Yeah, 100 points if you can guess who that is, who I'm referencing there. In fact, free key for the game if you can guess who the first person who says, either in the comments or in the chat here, which character this is referencing. He's got a spear and he's a nasty, he's a conniving looter type character. He's a bit of a thief and a bit of a rogue and a bit of an arsehole. Okay, so we have shield bearer, berserk. So the equivalent of the brawler and the orc is kind of the ranger, is the shield bearer and the berserker. And I guess, and then the equivalent of the drummer is the bannerman. That's easy. The equivalent of... The equivalent of the shaman is the mage and the witch. And then, are we missing anything? So we've got, and then the priest. Yeah, goblins, shamans, rangers, orcs, orc drummers, wargs. So, and there's 2 more human characters than orc characters. Where would the priest go? I feel like there's more here. Wargs, rangers. So we've got our soldiers and rangers. We've got our brawler. So yeah, so I think we want priest then. And the priest would be a rare one, right? So the priest and the shield bearer. So yeah, priest, shield bearer and priest is like our rare guys. And then ranger and our brawler is like our berserker. Except that the berserker isn't nearly as tough as the brawler. The human berserker isn't not even close to as tough as the orc brawler. So shouldn't actually appear in the rare list. So you see how it's kind of parallel, but not really. So yeah, we are saying shield bearer and priest rare list. That makes sense. Berserker common list. It's just basically another type of soldier. Witch, I'm just going to put the witch and the mage anytime I see the... I'm going to put the witch and the mage anytime I see the shaman. I'm going to put the ranger anytime I see the goblin ranger. And yeah, so that should do. Okay, so pack leader is rogue. Looter. Need to go in and make sure that my looter is basically the way it works is when we check, I need to make sure that they have level 99. The level is just kind of a bit of a vestigial stat on enemies. But what it does is it tells the game if they are level 99, if they're level 1, they give normal loot. If they're level 2, they give slightly better loot. If they're level 99, they are a loot goblin type character. So if you kill a loot goblin, if you kill a looter, it will give you the same stuff as you would get from a loot goblin. And of course, in this case as well, I need to kind of improve the way that they look. Sorry, I need to make them a bit bigger and a bit stronger. Right, so I need to kind of put multipliers on these characters to like... So if you're an enemy version, we should treat you a bit differently as if you were a local than if you were a local version, if that makes sense. I feel like I say if that makes sense a lot. Okay, so add to list. Yeah, let's get our soldier and our berserker. Yeah, soldier. So yeah, anytime I see soldier, anytime I see goblin, I'm going to read that as soldier and berserker. Berserker. This is why you should never use strings for this kind of thing. I should use like a constant or something, but I actually do just find this easier. Okay, so we take, once again, soldier, berserker. Okay, that's a rogue. And now we start to add our tier 2 units. And there's more variety in the human tier 2 units than there are among the orc, or the green bean tier 2 units. Okay, so I'll write this out one time. So assassin, yep. Yep, assassin. Bard. Blacksmith. Engineer. It's going to be so fun to see. And yeah, we'll it's hard to imagine how it's going to be different, but yeah, so Engineer, Fire Witch, Frost Mage, Knight, Lord, Paladin Tower. And Tower. Okay, and then the leader of the rogues, gangs of rogues, levels up. And then we add Ranger to the common list. And then the orcs basically level up. So when we see orc, we will read that as Shield Bearer and Priest. Is that right? So this is our rare list. Let's just make this easier to find. Rare list has Shield Bearer, Priest. Yeah. Priest. Bannerman. Okay, now we're adding these to the packs. So once again, that will be Shield Bearer and Priest. And Ranger becomes also part of the bigger pack. And then here we will do Mage, Witch, Loot Goblin, so just Looter, Soldier. So this is rather tedious, but it helps to kind of go through it and think about it. Berserker. To anyone who's just joined, and yeah, we are making humans as an enemy faction. So currently we have this other script called Green Beans, which basically tells the game how to spawn in the enemies, like when to spawn them, based on creating a few lists and kind of modifying the stats of those lists. So the size of the pack, so pack size, how big is this pack of enemies, pack spawn interval, how often does it spawn, and so if we add characters to the rare list, they'll spawn every 15 seconds from this point, and then we kind of mess with those numbers as we go. So Looter, Soldier, Berserker. So then Orc becomes, yeah, Priest, Shield Bearer. If there's a spelling error, then it will throw up an error, which is nice. Goblin. So Soldier and Berserker. Rogue. I could just do find and replace, obviously, but I actually think this is a good practice to actually do it manually. Okay, so now we're adding to our next special list because we've kind of gotten to the next kind of big difficulty spike. So we will take all of our special units and we're just going to add an eye. There we are. And obviously when we play it, we're going to see everything that's wrong with this. I think the most tricky part is... So at the moment... Let me just show you this, because it's nice to have a break occasionally from these tedious bits. I end up thinking about this. So we've got our human prefabs, and here is where we determine their health and their speed, and then everything else is kind of generated at start. So we have a bunch of these characters. And the orc ones, so as I was balancing the game, I would just like give these guys more health. So for example, the brawler has a lot more health than a soldier, right? An orc has a lot more health than a soldier, because the orcs are supposed to be these big beefy guys. And so there's a part of keeping that, of like, okay, well this is easy. For the bigger, beefier guys, we would increase the spawn interval, right? So we're still basically paying as the orcs. It still feels the same. They'll be spawning more rarely. So you get bigger guys in exchange for slower spawn interval. But then you've got the biggest example here is, for example, the loot goblin has a lot of health for... The loot goblin has a... Where's health? There we go. The loot goblin has a lot of health for a character that... I mean, it's a lot more health than the looter. So when the orcs are using this character, we don't want it to have this much health, and we don't want it to be double the size of a normal unit, right? So what I'm going to have to do is return this back to normal. So I would say, like, that should actually not be like that, right? Just going to undo that. Can I undo that, please? But that we would do it in the script here and say, oh, okay, well, if you're anytime you're summoning a loot goblin or a looter, like quadruple its HP and double its size, that kind of thing. Okay. Looter. So then we're spawning a single looter, and we'll put in like checks, and then we'll, yeah, I mean, I don't know, are we going to change the HP of the orcs? No, I think we just make them spawn more rarely, but then already we've got this lack of symmetry and balance, and we have to think, okay, well, if the orcs are spawning slower, if the orcs are much stronger than goblins, how much slower should we spawn them in, right? Because that's what we want to see. We want to see like 3 or 4 goblins per 1 orc, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. Okay, so we come down here and we've done mage, witch, looter, and then we do our number 4s. We'll do a find and replace. And that would be not goblin 4, it would be, I guess I've removed this for now. Soldier and berserker, and I've added it again here because what I wanted to make sure is that we've got twice as many melees as we have ranged, but I don't think I need to do that here, so I'll just do it like this. Again, there'll be a fair bit of tweaking to do to get this right. And then an orc and a brawler is a priest and a shield bearer, because these are the guys that, like, they're going to be less strong. It's not going to be a case of, oh, here's the big strong orc. It's going to be, no, these guys have really strong utility, so you're going to want to take them out, and we don't want too many of them because then it will get a bit annoying. So yeah, again, orc and brawler, priest, shield bearer. So this is adding them to pack 2, meaning the tier 3 version can now appear as a normal enemy in the pack. And the tier 4 version is now part of the rare list. And yeah, we've already reset it up here. Bannerman. And then Warg Rider. So this would be Assassin. So the leader of the packs of rogues will no longer be a higher tier rogue. It will be an Assassin instead. And then yeah, later on we add the ranged units. Because the ranged units, if you haven't prepared, they will mess you up. They can, like a big volley of fireballs or ice bolts or arrows can absolutely shred your army up if you don't have any shields or ways to protect it. Okay, that was relatively painless. That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad at all. So let's... There's 5 people in here. That's way more than usual. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, before I test this, I'm going to go ahead and sort of draw these exceptions. So let's say, like, so the spawn rate for special enemies, yeah, I mean, they're special, like, they've got strong utility, they're just not particularly strong. But we could say something like, when we spawn an enemy, we should kind of like naturally boost its HP if it's that kind of type, right? So when we spawn an enemy, let's do that. So spawn enemy, and down where we actually spawn it. I think this might be the wrong way round. Where do we actually get pooled object? Okay, it's there. Okay, yeah, so this causes this to happen, this causes this to happen. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, we make sure we keep it from coming off the edge. We put it in its position. We reset its rotation. We reset the character. There it is. And we can say something like, okay, if... And we can use the character's level. So if character... If enemy dot level... Is level private or something? No. Okay. Character, there it is. And let me double check what these are. So at the moment this just pertains to what kind of loot they'll drop, but we could also use it to determine things like we could just give level 2 enemies like a little boost to HP. So that is a level 1. So we don't start at 0, we start at 1. And yeah, level 3. Okay, and we make the tier 2 units like super powerful because they are like boss enemies. So she'll see the Blade Master. Let's even go like for like. Let's go like Wayfinder has similar health, and I'm not actually sure. Wayfinder has similar health to the Assassin. No, it has less. Okay, that might be a mistake. So these all have 90. 90, 110, 130, 150. And then so the Wayfinder would have 70, 80, 90. Okay, he's pretty weak then, actually. Totem has extra HP, just like the tower. 120, 140, 160. So, and I need to sort these out. So 100, 150, 120. Okay, so let's make that the same. Let's balance that out. So the tower, 20, 40, 60. Totem, 20. 140. 160. That feels quite weak now, but we're gonna make it more. So if character.level is equal to so we have a goblin is the same as a soldier, right? 20, 30, 40, 50. Soldier. 20, 30, 40, 50. So level 1 enemies are like are 1-to-1, right? My priest is the same. So 20, 30, 40, 50. Oh, no, we start lower with the priest. Okay, but I think that's the only case of that. The mage, 20, 30, 40, 50. Maybe I should make the priest. I think I'm going to make the priest 20. I'm going to make the priest the same. So are we throwing the balance out of the game? Yeah, a little bit. But it's worth it. 40. 50. And then so in cases where we think that the balance is different because it's an enemy unit, we need to put it here at runtime. So let's call this enemy scaling. So that when we instantiate this unit, and the way we should probably do this is with the buff system. It's going to be tricky. Okay, so if character.level is 2, so this is like the orcs and brawlers, we can say character.addBuff, new buff. And we will make this buff, it will be, name will be level 2 enemy. Stat will be just HP, I think. And I think we call that max health. So the stat we upgrade is max health. And then so add buff. Max health, that's the one. So if we have a stat called max health, then it's max health. The reason I'm using the buff system is because the buff system already accounts for, because we're using object pooling instead of instantiating. So if we say, oh yeah, increase their health by 20%, that's going to do that every time we respawn the character, which would mean that their health would just get exponentially higher, which we don't want. Obviously, we want it to be reset afterwards, and the buff system already kind of does that. So the value, if we've got a level 2 character, and let me just double check again. So max health plus equals, not times equals. So how much more health are we going to give to a character that is a level 2 unit? And this will throw a lot of things out of balance, but let's say, and also, so brain exploding a little bit. I said I'd be quiet this time because I need to think, but because it kind of helps to talk it out, right? We have Orc. Orc has 100, 120, 140, 160. And the Brawler has the same. But a Goblin is 20, 30, 40, 50. Just like the humans. The Orcs are a bit overtuned. But we can deal with that by making them rarer. Same with the Orc Drummer. So actually, we don't want to make any changes for level 2 enemy. Right? So no change for a level 2 enemy. But level 3 enemy means it's a tier 2 unit. And I want this to feel like a boss. So it has more HP, takes longer to kill. And I want to make sure that these kind of feel the same. So yeah, human. So my assassin, 90, 110, 130, 150. Warg Rider, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay. I think that's because it's sort of meant to be weaker. But actually I think this is wrong. This should be like for like, shouldn't it? I guess it's that sort of lack of diversity. See, the chief has a lot of HP because these are like the boss guys. And these are actually level 4, not level 3. Alright? Oh, it's complicated. It's complicated. So how do I deal with this? I mean, maybe there's already parity, right? I'm going to not touch it and see how it plays. But definitely what we're doing is we're saying if a character.level is... And let's go in and Make sure the levels are correct. Level... Yeah, so all of these are level 3. But the looter, we did looter as level 99. And what happens... And I think this is basically the same. We just have slightly higher drop rates for these tougher enemies, these tougher orc enemies. But I think that kind of balances itself. I think that balances itself. I think that balances itself. Okay, so let's just try it out. So, looter buff. Yeah, let's call this loot buff. Increases max health by a chunk. So loot gob, and so and we'll make a new buff for this. So we have looter. Loot goblin. So the first thing we should do is make the loot goblin just a normal unit. But we should take a note of how much more HP it has. So we say 50, 75. God, this is bloody complicated. All right. Loot buff, and this will be loot buff. So it's the same. Let's go in and make that. We're making it times equals buff dot value so that it scales properly. So if you have a loot buff, you will double in size, and you will have your max health increased, multiplied by whatever the value is. And we need to make sure that this is also in remove buff. How do I get rid of, how do I unmultiply? My head hurts. Well, first things first, original size equals original size. But the max health. So if we add this buff, we times your health by 2. If we remove this buff, we divide it by 2. Can we do that? I've never done this before. So divided. So if it's like 1.2 divided by. Okay, so I am not good at maths. So max health. I'm really bad at maths. So if we said, so our max health is 150, let's say. 150 times 1.2 equals 180. 180 divided by 1.2 equals Oh, okay, so that does work. So if I divide by the same number, it should work. If anyone... note to past self, like, no, you don't need to know maths to be a programmer, but it does help. Okay, so that I'm going to assume that that works then. So our value would be 2. So we double the health. And then we divide it. Let me try that again. Yeah, that of course that works. So our health is 125, and we times it by 2. Of course this works. 250 divided by 2 equals 1, 2. So it should return. Okay, yeah. It's probably obvious to a lot of people listening, but it's not obvious to me. Okay. True. So permanent means it doesn't go down with time, so that this number will actually be irrelevant. And it doesn't need the sprite because we're never going to see it. So if the level is 99, do that. And so our loot goblin, before... it should be the same. So our looter is 20, 30, 40, 50. The loot goblin should also be 20, 30, 40, 50. And then now that last loot goblin is considerably weaker, so let's go ahead and make this times 4. Yeah. Okay, that should work. That should work. All right. Okay. What else do I need to do? So we think that the orcs, it should work out in terms of balance. I mean, balancing really is like, it's a myth. I mean, how would we make sure that these numbers are perfect so that it's just as difficult to play as the orcs as it is to play as the humans, right? Oh, and another thing is I gave the orc drummer a lot of HP. 120, 140, 160. Yeah, these ones have higher HP. 120, 140, 160. These are level 2 enemies. But the humans don't really have that. We don't have... It's not like... I mean... I guess it's like Brettonic Englishmen surrounded by Nordic Vikings, right? So, like, you've got these, like, short people. Like, if you... Like, goblins are, you know, a bit shorter than a human, but an orc is, like, quite a bit taller than a human, and they live together. So, like, it's different. It's a different world. But humans, we're all mostly the same. So, is that just going to work? Okay, so orcs would have a natural spawn interval of 6. Is that fair? They've got quite a bit more health. But they don't have... but they're gonna come in at they're gonna take 150% longer time to appear. Let's see how it goes. So warlocks are the same. 70, 80, 90, 100, and a human tier 2 unit is 90, 110, 130, 150. Okay, I think this is a mistake. I think this is a mistake. They should be the same. So 90, except in this case. So was it 100, 120? Was it 90, 110? So 90 to 150, going up 20 each time. So the bomber should be, and then 55, and then half of 130 is 85. My brain is so balked today. Divided by 2 equals 65. Maths. Yeah, so we go 45, 55. Okay, yeah, so it's just going to go up by 10 each time. 75. Okay, that's our bomber. Our chief has absurdly high HP, but he is going to pop in slower. Like, considerably slower. The bomber should naturally have less HP. The glutton will come in at the same rate as our chief, but will have the same HP as the chief. So, or is this fine? Let's not touch that. Let's not touch that. That could get really messy. No, let's touch that. Okay, so the catch here is that yes, they don't have much higher HP than an orc. It's just that they'll be spawning as often as a goblin, though. Right. So the totem should have parity with our tower. Should be the exact same stats. 140, 160. Okay, that's good. Totem. Warg Rider. So I think I might have made their HP lower because they do actually have absurdly good damage. But I think the fix there is actually just to reduce their damage potentially, or just let it kill the player. Fuck it. Let's mess around a bit. So again, our Warg Rider would be 90, 110, 130. 150. And yeah, all of our... So the Warlock the same. 90. 110. 130. 150. Wayfinder, this is a Goblin. 90. So we've just made the game a bit harder. Let's see how that plays out. And then our Blade Master and Chief, let's just keep them where they are. Brawler is 20, and so this is like quite high. But the standard enemies 10 to 50. Okay, we'll leave the wargs being a bit weaker there because I think they're finely tuned. That's not a problem. And Brawler, yeah. And our Shaman 20, 30, 40, 50. That's just the same as the humans. 20, 30, 40, 50. Orc Drummer is big. Okay, so one issue is that if we don't have any tier level 2 humans, well, shall we say that like a priest is level 2 and a shield bearer is also level 2, and then that should match. Yeah, that works. Okay. And then we can say that we don't have... So then would we then say like a paladin is level 4? No, let's just make all of these level 3. All the upgraded humans are sort of on par with each other. And then so we will take our... so yeah, let's get our loot goblin. Reduce its size back to normal. And the health is 20, 30, 40, 50. And now we need to take all of our... So we've got our Orc Drummer, Brawler, Blade Master, Chief, And these will all have a spawn interval of 6 rather than 4. I haven't highlighted them. No, that's not right. Oh no, yeah, okay. Select these, spawn interval of 6. And then make sure. Okay. All right then. And then I'm just going to do a quick re-import, because I think that can sometimes get a bit messy. And let's see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Check my bits on my phone. Okay. Shall we give that a try? Have we messed around enough before actually decided to give it? Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, that works. Feels like that's a lot bigger now. Okay. Where are we at? Shall we just see what's wrong with this? We'll find out whatever problems there'll be. Maybe some of these are spelt wrong. Maybe I can't actually access human enemies like that. Maybe it won't actually successfully switch to enemies being humans. Let's give it a whirl. Let's try it. Yeah, of course. So what's wrong? Okay. So faction 1. So which is happening? So yeah. Okay, so it's probably just an order of execution thing. Setting faction. So if we see this exception before we see that debug log, then we know what the problem is. Yep. So we haven't actually set our faction yet. So what we can do is actually set it here. I think all of this code should go there anyway, right? Yeah. It should go there anyway. Tricky. Okay. So this should actually go in here. This is going to mess so much shit up because it's all about script execution order. So straight away, these would go in here. No, my head's hurting. Okay, I'm just messing with some really dark magic here, and I don't want to screw it up. So, we have not set the faction yet. This doesn't really matter when this happens because it's like it's the execution order doesn't matter here, but it does matter here. So it would be like here. And have we set the player faction yet? The thing is, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the diligence. So I was just trying to hack it to get it to work. But actually, we ought to be able to choose at the character select menu our enemy faction. Because that's what we're going to be referencing at some point anyway, so there's no point like messing around with this. So yeah, sorry if you're excited about seeing that, but let's be diligent. So we will go into our complete change of headspace now. Because we were doing game design and sort of balancing out these orcs and humans and making that all work and doing some tedious stuff, but now we have to make now we have to pivot completely to doing some UI stuff. So we have stage, so we choose our hero, then we choose our difficulty, then we choose our stage, and then we would have another one. And this might be too many now. Too many clicks to get into the game, but enemy factions transform. So we will choose which enemy we are fighting against. Right? Oh dear. Okay, so we go into our... So we'll keep these open. But we'll just put character select over here. It's the ones we're concerned with. And okay. Let's do it from the top down. Okay, let's start commenting this stuff out as well. So, heroes. Choose hero. Choose difficulty. Choose stage. Other stuff. Can put it at the top. Okay, nice and clean. So choose difficulty, choose stage, choose enemy faction. Enemy faction buttons transform. Stage button, hero button. Do we have faction button? No. So this would just be button. So it would just be a standard button. Faction, enemy, faction, button, prefab. Should I just do it? Yeah, let's just do it like this. That's a part, because I could go take a list of factions and do it like that. But I could just do it manually. No, let's do it properly. Okay, so button enemy faction button prefab. Okay, and then public static faction selected enemy faction. Dear oh dear oh dear. Okay. And this menu will get more complicated because I want to make it so that, and actually eventually what I should do is make like a really nice interface where all at once you choose your stage and your enemy faction, and there'd be some stages that would allow for more than one enemy faction, and you're already choosing your local faction. But I would also want to say, oh, I want to play as the humans and the orcs versus the undead, or humans and undead versus orcs and demons, that kind of thing. Okay. Public static faction, enemy faction. So then we go through and difficulty buttons set up, and then we have unlocked. Never mind that. So this would be random. Yeah, there will be a random option for enemy faction. Not now, but there will be later. Would there? Yeah. So I'm just taking stuff that I've done before and we're going this string unlocked. Enemy factions. Just need a string for each faction. And title screen dot factions. Faction, if that faction is unlocked. Select state, select faction. Oof, okay. Yeah, I mean, really, I need to redo this whole menu because it could be much nicer. Okay. And actually, this would go before difficulties, wasn't it? Wouldn't it? Yeah, I think so. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, we'll probably overhaul this entire script here and this entire UI, but it's fine for now. Okay. Oh, I probably need to sort this out for the other ones as well. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible script. But I'll just keep adding to it. So, difficulty buttons, hero buttons. Basically, this is for the controller. So that if we start a menu, so this should actually be, yeah, so if hero buttons, if difficulty, so we get heroes, if, so let's just copy that, if stage buttons transform, this is bloody awful, but I'm kind of finding that balance between just getting things to work and kind of doing it in a tidy way. So I could probably make something like, if I move the controller, then just pick the top left one of the one that's active, basically. But you see how I keep going down this rabbit hole. And I have to pick my battles. Otherwise I'll be here forever. And my brain will explode. Select hero, select stage, select difficulty. Select faction. Enemy faction. Select enemy faction. Selected enemy faction equals factions dot get faction enemy faction name. And so if we've selected a stage, so yeah, if we select a hero, we close the heroes and open stage. If we select the stage, we close the stage and open faction. If we and the difficulty comes at the end with loading the scene. And if we select a faction, we close the enemy factions transform and open the difficulty transform. Deary me, almost there. Set header text. And again, we're doing this horrendous if-else case. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, but we'll continue with this disgusting spaghetti. Oh no, that's a switch case. So else. else choose your stage. If no, so we would have to say if. This is horrendous. I'm very sorry that you're having to witness this. I know any professional programmers watching are probably having an aneurysm right now. Difficulty to if stage buttons transform equals true, else, and we'll just go for the full. If enemy factions, blah, 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 then enemigo, and then the rest will need translating. Make a note in my list of translations, because if I do that now I will break. I've got a long list of translations that need doing, so choosing enemy faction, character select. Okay, then we load the scene. Load scene just means load scene. Good. Exit. So if we press the back button, then I would think I would want to have like returns in there somewhere. No, because I don't know. Well, let's just assume it works. So if I have the enemy faction buttons transform is open, then we do indeed want this. So then the random button, if we're going back to stages, true, yeah. If we're going, and yeah, this would always be true then, and then so the difficulty buttons transform, no, if the enemy factions transform will disappear, and we will open that one, and the current selected object, and then we, again, for the controller stuff, we put it here, except if the difficulty is open, then we will open the enemy factions transform. No, then that one closes, but this one opens, and the first one would be that one. Again, maybe there's a better way to do that, but I'm not sure. Okay, in theory, that works. In theory, we need to make a faction button. Let's go and have a look at stage button. And it's just very simple. We'll just copy it like this. It's just a button that has a something attached. I could have homogenized that and just made it one button. But, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Right? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Prefabs. UI. We have our stage button. We want a faction button. And the faction button is not a stage button. It's got a faction button on it. Let's make sure. No, okay, other way around. Let's exit this. No, that's not what I want at all. No. No, what? Factions? No. I don't want to mess with that at all. No, I'm a moron. Okay, no, not factions. Sorry, my brain must have just turned off for a second there. Put that in my very tidy scripts folder. And so it's the exact same. So if we take our, where do we put it? Did we not keep that open? Oh, just let me save it. I don't care if the console doesn't work. Just let me save this as it is. Just, I find that really annoying. Okay. Clear all the console errors. So we just need to go into character select, find these errors, and just comment them out for a brief second. Wow, 8 people. I think that's a record for me. If you're enjoying the video, please give us a like and all that stuff. But most importantly, go and try the game on Steam. And if it is your wish, then I would be very happy if you would wishlist it. Okay, so what I want to do is have a look at prefabs, UI, stage button, show me this script. Copy the whole damn thing. Faction button. Is it faction button or enemy faction button? Never mind. Let's go back to character select and undo. Make sure I don't undo anything that I didn't want to undo. Okay. This may actually work. So I'll go into my, once again, so my faction button. Okay. Okay, let's see if that worked. Don't try this at home, kids. Be better than me. Code better than me. But kind of like this is how you learn. This is how you learn best practices, because you get it wrong. Choose your enemy. Is that right? Choose your stage. Choose your enemy. And so, okay, I think that worked. Right, cool. Factions. When we choose a title screen and green beans, green faction list.add locked equals false. That's what I want to add. Orcs are no longer locked. This won't be the case for the demo, and I think I probably would later on lock orcs as a faction, but it's kind of tied to the character, isn't it? Don't open that. Okay. Moment of truth. Hello, I would like to play Warbeans. I'm going to choose Orco, so I've chosen my faction. And I'll go to the ramparts, and I would like to fight it. And also I need, okay, so I need to make it so that we can't choose our allied faction as an enemy, or reskin them at least. Okay, so gm.faction. Okay, so we don't need to ask gm.faction1. We can say if character select dot enemy faction I mean, what we would come out would be like a list of enemy factions. So it would be like a for each loop. For each enemy faction that we've chosen, load those routines for the enemies. Or it would be something like they would run concurrently, but then it would be like divided by 2. So we would divide the max number of units and the spawn rates by 2, because we're by however many enemies we have in the other team. Getting ahead of myself, right? Can we make it work? Oh no, I want to fight against the humans, and I want to fight as. Select the crate. I'm selecting Orco, and I want to fight against the human beings in the plains. Ha! Amazing. Amazing, it's working. I'm fighting against humans now. I'm getting wrecked, because I think the axe is a bit slow. So it ends up not being quite as good. Oh dear. Oh dear. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I just need to get one of those gems. There we are. Okay. Let's get some orcs on my side. Alright. I should take advantage of the fact that my axe has a bit more range, I think. Or does it? No! Okay. Yeah, let's get some better goblins. Yeah, close in on them, boys. Yes, we have orcs. Okay, I think 6 seconds might be too short. I think it should be 8 seconds. Ha ha ha! Oh, that looks really small. And I'm not sure if it's even really working properly. And what's going on here? Target update timeout. Why? Why? What's slowing it down? What's slowing it down? So basically this is happening like the enemies... Like, why is there a timeout? It's like it's getting stuck. So, that's embarrassing. So yeah, what happens is if we go too long without having refreshed the target, so this updates all the targets, and I need to find out what the sticking point was. So... It's going to get a bit annoying at first. But I need to be like... I need to like check where it's getting stuck. And why is it getting stuck? You have anything about faction here? Oh god, and that script is too big. Is that an issue? Maybe there should be an entirely separate script for this. Okay, let's go back. Faction. No, okay. So is it on the enemy? It's all about teams. Well, I don't think this would happen again, but let's... so for each team... So yeah, we do a while loop, basically. For each character... Target in... I don't know what the problem is. Okay, so... Character has found target. This is a recent development because I recently so it used to be that this script would be on the character. They would find a character and they would do it once a second, but I've changed it so that it's all being handled by a central controller and done it in a coroutine so that we'll never try and find the next character unless unless it's like finished what it was doing before, so it won't stutter the game. It will just go slower if your game is running slowly. But it seems like it got completely stuck there, and that happened previously as well. It happened in a recent playthrough, so there must be something wrong there, and I'm not sure what it is, but I have some ideas. But to be honest, I'm a bit burnt out for that kind of thing right now. I don't know if I'm not going to be able to figure out what's causing that. I can just hope that it doesn't happen again, because I don't think it is very common. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Crit rate. Let's see if we can actually win this time. And yeah, really Try and take hits for my men. Yeah, we've got a bit more AoE than a sword. A bit more range, but it is quite slow. And slow at this stage of the game is not useful. Let's get a shaman. We need to fix these descriptions. So that's a little note I have to do. Fix descriptions on green bean allies. Cool, we've got a shaman now. Try and protect him. Doing that. Chain lightning. It's really confusing. Because I'm so used to fighting. And by used, I mean I've spent hundreds of hours playing as the humans fighting the orcs. So it is really weird joining the other team. It's like, it feels wrong. Yeah, let's get a scimitar. Lovely. Okay, we're wrecking it, but that's about right. Let's see how far we can go. And then if something bugs, or if I fail, or whatever, whichever happens first. Yeah, let's get at least one of those big orc guys. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and... So the orcs are considerably stronger. And we will probably tweak this number quite a lot before the day is done, before the game is done. And we will say that the brawler, the orc, and the orc drummer... Actually, the orc drummer's fine. No, yeah, the orc drummer... And actually the chief and the others are probably fine, and we'll take these and we'll say your spawn interval will be 8 seconds. There we go. So it makes them quite special to have on your team. I'm still not used to playing as the orcs. This is fun. Yeah, let's do shaman. Let's try and get that combo. Get the lightning sword. The lightning sword is, I think it's going to be totally broken. As in, I'm not sure it will work at all. And that's on my list to kind of change the way that works. But yeah, now that we've got a scimitar, in addition to the axe, we're not bound by kind of only attacking very rarely. Okay. Yeah. And there's our first shield bearer. So what I might do is, yeah, I probably am gonna say, yeah. So this buff, enemy spawner, loot buff. But no, we're gonna call this enemy buff. Enemy buff. And we're going to say on the enemy spawner, if you are a level 2 enemy, you... but that's going to make the orc stronger. Like the enemy orc stronger. Level 2, so if it's like level 2, you get a 2. But no, not yet. Need to figure that out. Because yeah, it would be nice if those shield bearers and the human priests were like maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, just so that you kind of feel like you earn the extra points. But we're not here for balancing. I am happy I'm over the moon that... Ha! 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 I figured it out. I figured it out. So the problem there was the Whirlwind Blade. And when I saw it happen last time, it's probably because like an enemy had Whirlwind Blade. Whirlwind Blade is messing with targeting. Brilliant. I'm so glad I figured that out sooner rather than later. So I'm going to turn that weapon off. And put exclamation marks on that. Oh, I'm so happy that I figured that out. I cannot tell you how happy I am that I just figured that out. Rather than, like, messing with the routine for, like, finding the targets. Like, no. I need to... It's a specific weapon that's messing it up. I thought it was a problem with performance or something like that. No, it's a specific weapon that's doing it. Okay. So I am going to turn it off on my hero. For now. This will do for now. Oh, and the orcs. Okay, yeah, and orcs. Make sure. So the orcs are going to have 3 ally slots and 5 weapon slots. Just to again, like, make them a bit more different. So orc, weapon / ally slot UI. Okay, I didn't really switch off, did it? No, I didn't, because I didn't switch it off. Okay, no, that's just gonna stay broken. Okay, well, let's try that again, and I just need to not pick that. That's really good to know. That's really, really good to know. Right. Bridge. Human beings is our enemy. Oh yeah, exclude. Stop fighting faction option. And then of course I need to go in and do these, like, sort out his special as well. I think the orc's special is going to be that his weapon reset timer becomes, like, really, really short. So, like, his weapon attacks become... so, like, for a few seconds, they'll just be spamming all their weapons. That'll be his special. So this whole thing is, like, more about having, like, a strong character and less about having a big army. Or at least more about having, like, if you want to go for the orc path, you can, like, have a few really strong orcs backing you up and you know, and keep them fed. And if you want to go down the ally path, then... or you can have, like, goblins and have lots and lots and lots of goblins. Which could also be fun. Let's get chain lightning, because I like that. Yeah, now I've got chain lightning. Oh, I seriously, I've been playing this game for hours and hours and for hundreds of hours, fighting against the orcs, and it just feels so weird playing as them and fighting against the humans. Let's get the boomerang's fun. I'm going to show you the boomerang because it actually comes back. Oh, it comes back if it's pierced. Yeah. I think it didn't come back there because it hit the wall. It hit the invisible wall. But yeah, it's quite fun. Okay, God, we're in business, and I'm so glad I figured out what that thing was where all the characters stopped targeting each other. It's because if anyone has the Whirlwind Blade, which has like a special thing, it targets the self. So I have an idea of why that might be messing with things. Ha 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 ha! Oh, and it's just so much fun, like playing with different weapons and playing with different upgrades. Like, it's just such a trip for me. You probably think I'm overreacting, but oh, this is great. This is great. I kind of put down the groundwork for this ages ago and never really got to use it. And it's just so weird playing it. There's the shield bearer. Oh. Goodness me. And yeah, like I didn't have any idea how this would work. Oh! So cool. Oh, and so, yeah, one thing is there's no healing assaults. That's going to be a sort of different experience, I think. Oh, that's so cool. It's mind-blowing. Yeah, I really like chain lightning. I've always liked chain lightning abilities in any game. I just think, I don't know, something that's quite satisfying about it. So straight away, I think it's a lot easier because we don't have the big orcs, right? So the thinking is that because we don't have any of these big badass enemies, it sort of just feels a lot easier. So that's a balancing issue. How do we make humans harder? I mean, we don't just give them their equivalent of an orc. I mean, we could say that, like, the berserkers are really tough. We could just make them big and strong. Yeah, how do we make the... Any ideas? People watching? People commenting after the video's uploaded? How do we... Oh... I think the bomb is targeting the wrong people. Okay, that's another interesting bug. Yeah, how do we make the humans more challenging to balance against the fact that they don't have the big dudes showing up? Also, yeah, bomb targeting green beans, allied greens. Got a whole list of things to work through and figure out and fix. No. Yeah, so I have a feeling this is gonna, like, end up being quite easy. Also, I haven't seen a single pack of rogues. So yeah, packs not spawning properly. That's a big one. Something must have gone very wrong. Oh, well, there's a pack. But I haven't seen packs of rogues. And why can't they target the bard there? Like, definitely quite a lot of kinks to fill out. Things to fix. In terms of balancing. Oh, Jesus, the assassin. Okay. Yeah, lots of things to figure out there. Lots of things to fix. Lots of things to improve there. But I'm really happy because basically it's working. I just got a nice list of things to look into to fix. And we'll see. I am going to switch to... It's gonna, before I do anything, well, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I'm just gonna go make sure I go on the build on Steam for the demo and roll that back to an earlier version because something's obviously gone wrong. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. This is a huge turnout for me. Almost 10 people. That's crazy. So yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, cheers. Goodbye.